Welcome back to Everyday English Lounge. If your English routine looks calm and hopeful on Sunday night and then disappears by Tuesday morning, this episode is for you.
Yes. If your plan becomes a mysterious missing person every workday, please stay with us. We are not here to judge that plan. We are here to ask why it keeps running away.
Mine does not even run away with dignity. It hides under the laundry basket and pretends not to hear me.
Mine wears tiny running shoes and sprints out the door the second my inbox wakes up.
That image is upsettingly accurate.
Tiny shoes. Very determined.
And if you have been telling yourself, I start again next week, and this time I will be serious, I want to say something early. You are not behind. You may just be using one kind of plan for two very different kinds of days.
Tuesday night and Sunday morning are not cousins. They are barely neighbors.
Exactly. So today we are talking about work days and weekends, and how to build the minimum version of an English routine that can actually live inside real life.
Not the beautiful fantasy routine with candles, color-coded notes, and an entire free hour that arrives like a gift from the universe.
If that hour visits you, lovely, offer it tea. But most of us need a plan that still works when the kitchen is messy. Your brain is tired and your phone battery is somehow at 9% again.
9% is a personality test.
This episode is around B1 to B2 level, so some parts may sound a little more natural. But we will keep the language clear and easy to follow.
And if you miss a few words, that is okay. Stay with the main idea first, and you can always come back later and catch more each time.
Near the end, we will slow down for a short word tour with useful phrases from today's conversation.
If you enjoy these quiet, practical talks, you can subscribe and come back for the next one.
And if you already know one friend whose Sunday plan looks lovely and whose Tuesday plan disappears, you can send this to them too.
I feel exposed.
You should.
Fair.
Let us start with the problem. A lot of learners make one plan and call it an English routine. But inside that one plan, they secretly expect two different lives to behave the same way. Your workday life is tight, scheduled, interrupted, and a little noisy. Your weekend life might be slower or just messy in a different way. When we ignore that difference, we often blame ourselves. But the problem is not always discipline. Very often, it is design.
I want to push on that for a second, because some listeners might be thinking, no, the problem is definitely me. I am lazy on weekdays. And I get why people say that. It feels honest. But sometimes I am lazy is just a dramatic sentence covering a practical mistake. You built a plan for your best energy, and then try to use it on your most crowded day.
Yes, and there is a quiet kind of sadness in that. You come home after work or class, you open a lesson, you see 27 minutes, and your whole body says, absolutely not. Then you do nothing because in your mind, only the full version counts. That is such a common trap. People do not fail because 7 minutes is useless. They fail because they have decided 7 minutes is not real.
Let me give a scene. Imagine Lena, who takes a crowded train home every evening. She tells herself she will do 40 minutes of English after dinner. Every day. Strong plan, serious plan, respectable plan. Then she gets home at 8:10 hound. Her shoulders are tired. The rice cooker is making that little clicking sound. Messages are waiting. And suddenly 40 minutes feels like a mountain with bad lighting.
And the mountain always looks taller on a Wednesday.
Wednesday is rude.
So Lena skips the lesson. She says she will make up for it tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes Friday. Friday becomes I deserve rest. And by Sunday, she is not only behind in English, she is also carrying guilt. The guilt becomes heavier than the grammar. That is the part I really want listeners to notice. A plan should support your energy, not quietly insult it.
So here is the first shift. Instead of asking, what is the ideal routine, ask, what is the minimum version that still feels honest? Not fake, not symbolic, honest. Maybe that is 6 minutes. Maybe it is 8. Maybe on your hardest day, it is one short audio clip and one spoken sentence out loud.
I would sharpen that even more. The minimum version should happen next to something that already exists. This is where a lot of routines become stronger. They stop floating in the air and start touching daily life. If you always boil water in the morning, That can hold 90 seconds of listening. If you always walk from your desk to lunch, that can hold one spoken recap of your morning. If you always put away your cup at night, that can hold one line you say in English before the day closes.
That is the anchor idea, and I love it because it respects how humans actually move. We do not remember abstract promises very well. We remember moments: kettle, bus stop, elevator, closing laptop, standing in line for coffee. English does better when it has a chair to sit on.
Beautifully said. And once the habit has a chair, it stops asking for a stage. You do not need dramatic motivation. You need a place and a size. For many learners, a weekday floor might look like this. Listen to 1 minute of English. Say 2 sentences about your day and read 3 lines before bed. That is not a glamorous routine. It is a living routine.
Some people hear that and say, but will I improve with something that small? I think the better question is, will you improve with the large plan you never do? Because the fake ambitious plan gets applause in your notebook, but the small repeated plan changes your mouth, your ear, and your comfort level.
And I want to protect listeners from a common misunderstanding. Small does not mean careless. You are not tossing random English confetti into your day. You are making a deliberate floor. A floor is what still exists when the ceiling feels far away. On a good weekday, you can do more. On a messy weekday, you do the floor and keep the relationship with the language alive.
I had this exact problem a few years ago when I was trying to improve my own speaking, rhythm in another language. I kept making these grand plans for after work. Then one evening I was standing in the kitchen, cutting green onions very badly, and I realized I had enough energy for one sentence, not a whole lesson. So I started giving myself one tiny task while I cooked. Describe what I was doing. I am cutting this too slowly. The pan is too hot. I forgot the salt again. It was not elegant, but it was alive.
I love that example because it shows something important. The routine does not need to look academic to be useful. Spoken English is still English. Noticing your life in English is still English. If you are a learner listening right now, ask yourself this. Which part of your weekday happens almost every time, even when the day is messy? That is where your minimum routine wants to live.
And maybe ask a second question too. What kind of English can your tired brain accept without fighting you? Audio? Reading? Shadowing one sentence? Recording a 10-second voice note? The best weekday habit is not the most impressive one. It is the one your tired self does not hate.
Let us make that practical. Here is one version for an office worker. On the train home, 2 minutes of listening. While washing hands before dinner, one sentence out loud. Today was heavy, but I finished the hardest task. Before sleeping, read 4 lines from something familiar. Total time maybe 7 minutes. That is enough to keep the door open.
Here is a student version. Between classes, listen to a short clip once. Then tell yourself, in English, what the teacher just explained in your own words. At night, choose one phrase from your notes and use it in a sentence about your real life. Again, not huge, but it moves from input to output, which is gold.
And here is one for a parent, because parents often hear study advice and laugh. Not because it is funny, but because it ignores physics. If you have children, your weekday routine might happen while packing bags, waiting outside a classroom, or cleaning up toys. One listening touch, one small spoken touch, that counts. Please let it count.
Yes, do not build a weekday plan that assumes silence, perfect focus, and a candle. If you have children, the candle will be knocked over in 6 seconds.
And then your routine really will run away in tiny shoes.
Callback number 1, the shoes return.
Good. Now, once the weekday floor feels clear, we need to talk about weekends. Because this is where many people accidentally turn English into a punishment.
Yes, the famous Saturday debt payment. I missed things all week, so now I will study for 3 heroic hours. Then halfway through hour 1, your soul leaves the building.
Exactly. The weekend is not a courtroom where you defend yourself against Monday. It is a different kind of space. Often you have a little more room, but not always more structure. That means the weekend routine should be longer than the weekday floor, yes, but it should also be warmer, more human, and easier to enjoy.
I used to do this badly. I would save all my serious English for Sunday afternoon. I had a long list: vocabulary review, grammar corrections, a video, speaking practice. Maybe a full essay if I was feeling wildly unrealistic. By Sunday lunch, I already felt chased by my own plan. And when a plan chases you, you stop calling it a routine and start calling it a problem.
Let me challenge one part of that. I do think the weekend can hold deeper practice. But deeper does not have to mean heavier. For many learners, the best weekend design is one focused block and one relaxed block. The focused block is where you give English your full attention for 20 to 40 minutes. The relaxed block is where English joins your life in a softer way, maybe through a walk, cooking, a film scene, or journaling with a cup of coffee nearby.
That is so much kinder than catch-up culture. And it works because it gives the weekend two jobs instead of one. One job is growth. The other is pleasure. If the weekend only becomes repair work, you will start resenting the language by Saturday morning.
Here is a scene I can imagine clearly. It is Saturday. You wake up a little later. The room is not silent, but it is not sharp like a weekday. You make coffee. You sit down with a short English video and a transcript. You listen once. You underline 3 useful lines. Then you say them back slowly, maybe changing one word to fit your own life. That is your focused block. Later, while folding laundry, you tell yourself in English what kind of week you had. That is your relaxed block. Notice how ordinary that is. Ordinary is good.
I want to add something that matters here. The weekend block does not need to be early in the day if your weekend mornings are chaos. Some people hear Saturday morning routine and immediately think, absolutely impossible. Fine, put it at 4 p.m. Put it after lunch. Put it on Sunday night while the soup is on the stove. The point is not to copy someone else's soft sunlight schedule. The point is to find your real opening.
Thank you. That is such an important correction. Social media has convinced many learners that good routines always happen at clean desks. In beautiful light, real routines happen next to real life. Sometimes next to soup, sometimes next to socks.
Sometimes very definitely next to socks.
And here is the emotional trap with weekends. People think rest and progress are enemies. They are not. A gentle English session can be both restful and useful. Reading one page slowly can be useful. Rewatching one scene and speaking along can be useful. Writing 6 honest lines about your week can be useful. Not every meaningful session has to leave you exhausted.
Let me tell you about a Sunday I remember because it changed how I thought about this. I had planned a long grammar review. I opened the book, looked at the page, and felt instant resistance. Not because grammar is evil, but because I was already mentally tired from life. So I changed the plan. I took one short interview video, watched it twice, and then walked around my apartment retelling the ideas in my own messy words. I probably made 10 mistakes, but I stayed with the language for half an hour without resentment. That was the better session.
Yes, because you protected continuity and attention at the same time. And that brings us to another useful question for listeners. On weekends, what kind of English makes you feel more awake rather than more judged? That answer matters. If long vocabulary lists make you shut down, do not make them the center of every Saturday. If films wake you up, use film scenes. If speaking with a friend helps, build around that. Interest is not childish. Interest is fuel.
I can hear someone saying, but if I only do enjoyable things, will I avoid the hard parts forever? Fair question. I do not think the answer is to make everything difficult. I think the answer is to place the difficult part inside a routine that already feels safe, enough to hold it. Enjoyment is not the opposite of growth. It is often the bridge to growth.
Exactly. A weekend stretch can include one challenge, just one. Maybe you shadow a difficult paragraph. Maybe you write a short summary. Maybe you join a conversation group for 30 minutes. But surround that challenge with friendliness. Otherwise, the whole thing starts to feel like homework from a teacher who does not know you.
And if your weekend is busy because you work shifts, care for family, or simply have a complicated life, please do not throw away the whole idea. Weekend here really means your looser day, your slightly wider day, your day with a crack of extra air in it. That day may be Thursday. We are not loyal to calendars. We are loyal to reality.
That line deserves a frame on the wall.
Put it in one of the notebooks I keep buying.
Callback number 2. We are building a healthy pattern today.
A pattern and a small paper addiction.
So far, we have a weekday floor and a weekend stretch. Now let us make the routine strong enough to survive interruption. Because the true test is not what you do on a motivated day. The true test is what happens after you miss 3 days, get sick, travel, work late, or simply feel flat.
This is where many routines break emotionally. Missing one day becomes a story. See? I knew I could not do this. Then the story becomes heavier than the missed day itself. I think learners need a restart plan just as much as they need a study plan.
Completely. In fact, I would argue the restart plan is the real plan, because no matter how sincere you are, life will interrupt you. So ask yourself now, not later. When the rhythm breaks, what is the easiest way back in? Maybe it is one sentence. Maybe it is pressing play on a saved 2-minute clip. Maybe it is reading one paragraph from a familiar page. Your reentry should be almost too easy.
I love the phrase friendly door back in because that is what most people need, not a punishment gate. When I restart after a break, I do something embarrassingly simple. I say out loud, I am back today. That is enough for now. Then I describe one object in the room: lamp, chair, window, coffee mug, whatever is there. The sentence is tiny, but it changes my identity from someone who stopped to someone who returned.
That matters so much. Quiet progress often looks boring from the outside. There is no dramatic montage. There is no perfect streak screenshot. There is just a person returning, again and again, in small, honest ways. But that is exactly how fluency grows roots. Not through one intense weekend, but through many moments of return.
Can we build a sample system before we finish this part? Something listeners can copy and then adjust.
Yes, here is a clean version. Weekday floor, one short listening moment attached to a fixed daily action. One spoken response. One tiny reading touch before bed or before sleep mode kicks in on your phone. Weekend stretch. One focused session of 20 to 40 minutes. Plus one relaxed English moment inside ordinary life. Restart plan, one sentence out loud and 1 minute of listening. That is enough structure to hold you without suffocating you.
I would add one practical detail. Prepare the path before you are tired. Save the audio clip. Choose the page. Keep one note on your phone called Easy English Return. Do not ask your tired brain to. Search, decide, and study at the same time. Decision fatigue is a real thief.
I think this is especially true for listeners who live with other people. Maybe you share an apartment, maybe your family watches TV in the next room, maybe there is never a fully quiet hour. In that case, stop waiting for the perfect study atmosphere. You can build a routine that survives noise. Earphones, one saved clip, one whispered summary in the bathroom mirror. Not glamorous, but completely real.
Yes, and there is an emotional piece there too. Sometimes we delay practice because we feel embarrassed speaking out loud around other people. If that is you, do not force a giant speaking session first. Start smaller. Mouth the sentence. Whisper it on a walk. Record it outside. Confidence does not arrive before action. It usually arrives a little after it.
Another scene. Imagine a listener named Noor. She works all week, shares a home with 2 roommates, and keeps thinking real English study must happen at a desk. But her best moment is actually Sunday evening in the grocery line. She listens to one short clip while waiting. Then when she gets home, she says 3 sentences about what she bought and what she will cook. That is not a week routine. That is a routine that found her life.
And once you see that, comparison gets quieter. You stop measuring yourself against someone else's 2-hour Saturday plan and start asking, what helps me return? That question is calmer, but it is also smarter. Because the learner who returns in small ways for 6 months usually goes further than the learner who performs intensity for 2 weekends and disappears.
So if you need permission to make your routine plain, here it is. Plain is not the enemy. Plain is often what repeats. And repeated contact is what turns English from a school subject into part of your inner life. And one more thing, preparation is mercy. On Sunday evening, you can set up the week in 5 minutes. Save 2 clips. Bookmark 1, reading piece. Choose one sentence starter like, today I noticed, or the hard part was. Then when Wednesday arrives in its usual rude mood, your routine does not need to invent itself from nothing.
And listeners, please notice what we are not doing. We are not designing a life that looks impressive from the outside. We are designing a relationship with English that can survive ordinary chaos. Those are different goals. The first one looks better in public. The second one helps you speak.
If you want one final reflection question before we move on, here it is. If your current plan disappeared tonight, what tiny version could you rebuild tomorrow without drama? Your answer is probably closer to your real routine than the plan you wrote when you were full of hope and very far from Monday.
Also, if your routine still tries to sprint away in tiny running shoes, maybe the shoes are too fancy. Give it slippers. Give it soup. Give it a chair. We are lowering the drama level on purpose.
All right, let us slow down for today's word tour. Item 1 is weekday. A weekday is one of the usual work or school days, often Monday to Friday. It helps you talk about normal weekly patterns. Example, on weekdays, I only study English for 7 minutes after dinner, and that still counts for me.
Repeat. Weekday. Weekday. My weekday English is small, steady, and attached to daily life. Good pair with weekend and useful because many routines change shape depending on the weekday rhythm.
Item 2 is weekend. A weekend is the end part of the week, usually Saturday and Sunday, when your time may feel more open, more social, or simply different. That makes it a very useful planning word. Example, on the weekend I listen longer because I do not need to rush to class.
Repeat. Weekend. Weekend. My weekend routine is softer, but it gives me more room to practice. Learn this with weekday because the contrast between the two words is very practical in real-life English.
Item 3 is bare minimum. This means the smallest amount that is still enough to count. Honestly, it is not nothing and it is not failure. It is the floor, not the dream version. Example, my bare minimum is 1 minute of listening, one sentence out loud, and a quick glance at one phrase.
Repeat. Bare minimum. Bare minimum. On tired days, I do the bare minimum and keep the habit alive. I like this phrase because it lowers pressure without lowering your relationship with the language.
Item 4 is stick with. To stick with something means to continue doing it over time, especially when the early excitement is gone. There is patience inside this phrase. Example, I can stick with this plan because it fits inside my real Tuesday, not my imaginary perfect Tuesday.
Repeat. Stick with. Stick with. Choose a routine you can stick with, even when your energy drops. Very common spoken phrase. You can use it for habits, jobs, ideas, or even a difficult decision.
Item 5 is catch up. To catch up means to reach the point you feel you missed, or to do later what you could not do earlier. Many learners use it when they feel late. Example, I do not want every Sunday to become a stressful catch-up day for my English.
Repeat. Catch up. Catch up. If I miss 2 days, I do not try to catch up with 3 exhausting hours. Useful phrase, but notice it can carry pressure, so sometimes it helps to question that feeling.
Item 6 is realistic. If something is realistic, it matches real conditions and what you can truly do. Realistic plans are humble, and that is their strength. Example, a realistic plan respects my energy after work, my commute, and the fact that dinner does not cook itself.
Repeat. Realistic. Realistic. Be realistic, and your routine will probably last longer. This word is gentle but sharp. It asks you to see life clearly instead of making promises your tired self never agreed to.
Item 7 is set aside. To set aside time means to reserve it for a special purpose. Before other things fill the space, it suggests choice, not panic. Example, I set aside 30 minutes on Sunday afternoon for focused English and protected that time like a small appointment.
Repeat. Set aside. Set aside. Can you set aside 10 calm minutes this weekend for one deeper practice? Nice phrase, because it sounds intentional and calm. You are making room, not forcing yourself through a wall.
Item 8 is loosen up. This means relax, become less tight, or feel less tense in your body or mood. You will hear it in casual conversation a lot. Example, I watch one light video first so I can loosen up before I speak in English.
Repeat. Loosen up. Loosen up. Take a walk, loosen up, and then try a few sentences out loud. Very natural spoken English. It can describe muscles, emotions, or the atmosphere in a room.
Item 9 is routine. A routine is something you do regularly in a similar pattern. It can be a morning routine, a bedtime routine, or an English routine. Routines can be tiny and still be real. Example: my routine is simple, but because it repeats, it gives me confidence.
Repeat routine, routine. A good routine should support your life, not shame you for having one. This word is basic, but do not ignore basic words. Basic words are often the most useful words.
Item 10 is come back to. This means return to something after a break. After forgetting it or after life becoming busy, it is perfect for gentle self-talk after a gap. Example: when my week gets messy, I come back to one short audio clip and one easy sentence about my day.
Repeat, come back to. Come back to. You can always come back to English in a small, honest way. I love this phrase because it feels kind. It leaves the door open, and learners need that feeling.
Before we go, take one breath and let your shoulders drop a little. If your routine has been broken lately, that is not a character flaw. It is just life being life.
And your job now is not to design a heroic comeback. Your job is to choose one friendly next step.
So here is your tiny homework. Write down your weekday floor in one sentence. Keep it small enough that tired you will not argue with it.
Then write down your weekend stretch. One focus block, one relax block, nothing fancy. Nothing that needs perfect weather or a new notebook.
And if you want, tell us in the comments what your weekday floor looks like and what kind of weekend stretch feels realistic for you right now.
We really do read those, and your answer might help another listener build a plan that finally fits.
If this episode helped you, you can subscribe and come back for the next one.
And if one friend came to mind while you were listening, send it to them too, especially if their routine is already in tiny running shoes.
We will be here when you come back to it, one small step at a time.
Thanks for spending these minutes with us.
I am Mia.
And I am Leo. See you next time on Everyday English Lounge.